Hey everybody, Daniel Morris. Finally worked out the name uh, for the documentary. Gonna be, what's it gonna be? What was it? This is all impromptu. Like I'm doing this just off my mind right now. The reason why I like to practice with impromptu, that means is coming up with the information right there, giving it to an audience, is because that's how I want to talk to people when I talk to people about this out in public, everything like that. And there's some really, I watch the politicians, like our senators and governors and stuff like that, as long as, the presidents and everything like that, and they're really good at impromptu, answering questions when you're going into news, when you're doing the news debriefs, that kind of stuff, and answering questions like these people, like even though you may not agree with them, the amount of information they have to talk about is just like that. You don't hear them say, everything like that. Somebody from the audience can just answer them a question and they just know it. And they know a lot of information on it. And they say it in a way that's not confusing. And so I'm practicing with this. And right now, Ketchikan, Alaska, A Fool's Journey, you know, great. Adventures in Ketchikan, A Fool's Journey, which is great message because you'd be a fool to journey in Ketchikan. Here's why. It's perfect. I like it. You think about it, and when you get fooled, there's funny. I mean, it's hilarious. And so, yeah, earlier I used permanent marker on this, and I gotta get some goof off to goof off that permanent marker. But this is, I did give an example in that last video of two different situations. The first situation is you got the police setup, right? Police setup. And the second situation is you got the mock setup right there. Ketchikan theft reporting setup. Ketchikan theft setup. Okay, so before I do this, let me say one thing. This is a documentary. The information that I am giving out, I will be able to cite, give you. I will put it when I eventually it will be under the links or the YouTube. This is practicing, in the YouTube stuff to where you can find the information, research this yourself, everything like that. You know what I'm saying? And so, like these are just this is practice for me, and I do have a criminal background, and I did go pro se, meaning I represented myself, and so the things that I um, found out in the investigations that I've been doing on this case, because of my criminal background in the court of law, it's considered non non applicable. Cannot apply my findings in the courtroom because my record jeopardizes the integrity, of the evidence and the stuff of my findings. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so I'm considered oh, I'll think about it. So for me to be a professional witness, I'd have to have credential, clean record, everything like that. You know what I'm saying? So the integrity of the information is not in jeopardy as credible. My all the information in a courtroom, because I got a criminal history, is deemed not credible. You know what I'm saying? And but doing this documentary, because I do have certifications, I have done the classes, the courses, everything like that. In a civil setting, what I'm teaching you guys right now is credible, and yeah, so I mean, you kind of see the difference. Like, even though he is telling the truth, but because of the his criminal background, we cannot have him on the stand as a credible witness. You know, speaking on what his findings are. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's kind of, you know. But what I can do, and I'm going to do, is to get other investigators and lawyers and things like that in on this documentary, and they can support my findings, and therefore my findings become credible. And so I took a criminal justice class, right? And in the criminal justice class, we learn about mens rea, you know, and we learn about mens rea too. In it's called mens rea in the private investigation course certification course that I taken. My the course told me to get to sister up with the private investigation courses to get into law courses such as criminal justice, everything like that, to expand the understanding and realize the understanding of investigation for the state laws and everything like that. You know, being pro se, they didn't supply me with assisted counsel, so I had to do all this investigation myself. And knowing that I'm not a credible person for this investigation, my word doesn't mean nothing verbally, but what I get down on documented, you can't change the truth on documentation. And so, yeah, what do you say? But anyways, that's why I took all these courses, everything like that. I made it to them seem like I'm taking these courses as a way to make my criminal record valid. You know what I'm saying? I totally played it like that. Like, you know, I didn't want them to know the underlying objective of this. I knew I was taking this to trial from the moment I saw that raft. You know what I'm saying? From the moment I saw that raft and the moment I started feeling like I was getting set up, I knew I was taking it to trial. But how was I going to take it to trial? You know, what was my intentions? Everything like that was going through my head back when I first found this raft, because I said, this is not right. This is terrible. This needs to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? This doesn't happen. And if this is a setup, how can I use it? You know what I'm saying? And I kind of bounced it along because I wanted to take it to trial. You know, I wanted to bring it that far. But anyways, we'll get that in later on. Let's go back to mens rea. Mens rea means guilty intent. Intent. I forgot. I think it's a Greek. But anyways, it's that it's what defines a criminal action. You know what I'm saying? With guilty intent. Like this Clorox bleach is right here. You know, I could ask to use it. It's not mine. You know, whatever. But I know I can. You know, I sneakily walk by it. You know, even though like they grab it like that, boom. Then someone comes in and they're like, "Hey, where did my bleach go?" And I'm like, "I don't know," and I lie about it. You know what I'm saying? The fact that I had to hide it means I had a mens rea, a guilty intent, a deceitful intent to hide it, you know, and not say anything about it and take it for myself, you know, instead of just grabbing it for using what I was going to do. And bam, bam, hey, where did that bleach go? The person says, you know, oh, I just grabbed it. Oh, well, you're supposed to ask to grab that. Oh, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have any guilty intent of trying to, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of, I mean, if you guys can understand the difference right there, pretty good, I think. So the police setup of going to the theft of a car, the car theft, right? So you got the car theft right here. All right, we can say the car theft. The car is parked legally. Legally, it's in area that's non-obstructive, non-obstructive. It's legal. You know what I'm saying? It's in a legal area, non-obstructive, legal area. It's not damaging to property. Not damaging to property, right? Um, is it harmful to other people? No, it's not harmful to other people. It's under surveillance. It's under surveillance, right? I mean, I could teach a class on this. You know, I can show even with the mock screenshots for the digital forensic evidence. I'm gonna explain that too and go into that. That's pretty cool too. But anyway, so you got the surveillance on it, meaning it's being watched, right? And there's a door unlocked. You know what I'm saying? Not illegal to leave your doors unlocked. And the car's got a device on it to where it either locks down automatically or they try to get going and it slowly shuts down and comes to a stop. So it's safe, right? And so the police is ethical. It's ethical, moral, and it's set up in a way that it's non-enticing, meaning they're not putting drugs in front of somebody that's a drug addict. They're putting it in a way that, yeah, it may be noticeable and stand out like an edge of a parking lot, you know what I'm saying? You know, but it's not saying like come steal me. It's just right there at the end of the park there, you know what I'm saying? It's not saying, "Hey, you know, come take this." The key it's not doesn't have the keys there and everything out like that, you know what I'm saying? And so yeah, it's transparent. It's not. It doesn't catch attention of a certain group and stuff. So we go over here to Ketchikan theft reporting vehicle, the raft, right? The raft. Okay, so the raft. We can say about the raft what? Is the raft parked legally? So meaning parked legally, is the raft in a designated area to keep property? So the raft is not in a designated area to keep property. Right? It's not in a designated area to keep property. It's the lake itself in the area is a 24-hour day use area, meaning, or a 12-hour day use area, meaning from the time the sun comes up to the time sun goes down. That's the only time to have property in that area. If you're in a campground, you're able to have it, remove it from the area and put it in your campsite. That's the designated area. So we could say the raft is not, and it doesn't. So it's not legal, or his place was not legal. Definitely not legal. I can get into later on the rules and regulations, Signal Creek, everything right there. This is just a basis practice, right? So then we can go. Was the raft obstructing anything? The car wasn't obstructing anything. You know what I'm saying? People didn't have to go around it. People didn't stop to look at it. You're like, well, what's going on? It was not in the way of anything, right? So, but the raft, where was it? It was in the middle of the creek. It was on a creek bed. And so the creek meandered around the area because it was dried off. So it wasn't on the shore of the creek. It was literally in the middle of a creek on a dry creek bed. So the raft was obstructing a waterway. That's illegal too. Both state and federal. Raft was obstructing waterway, right? Wow. So now we're kind of pointing at the mens rea, but on this situation and the raft situation, right? So this is that gray area. We'll go over that in another one, but you know what I'm saying? You're like, huh, what they're doing is sounding like they had a guilty intent, but to do the right thing? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so you got the raft obstructing a waterway. Not only that, it's damaging because the raft in the condition it was in, paint was peeling, it wasn't cleaned, it was dirty, paint peeling, everything like that. The paint flakes were getting the water, you know what I'm saying? And so was it harmful to other people? You could say yes. Not only that, but it was harmful to the environment. Harmful to the environment, right? Was it under surveillance watch? Yes, it was too. It's under surveillance by the owner, Brett Oliver, you know, Marissa Brown, Stephanie Brissett. It was under surveillance. It was under surveillance. So it means it was being watched. You know, Stephen Kirkland knew it was there. Everything else like that, he knew where he planned it. It was in a lake. There's a not a boat launch, but a launching area at this end of the lake, and the only way to this creek is for spawning salmon. His campground is right there, and he planned to store his raft right there. You know what I'm saying? In a spot where you're not supposed to have anything. The the officer will tell you like he'll let people walk in the creek, you know, if they're taking care of the creek and not damaging to it. You know what I'm saying? But as far as putting stuff in here, no. They also testified that there was a trail going down to that location of the raft, making it sound like, yes, it was a place where you could put your stuff and store it there from your campsite and it was okay. Misleading the jury. We'll get into those rules and regulations, court rules, regulations about misleading jury. Even the cops from the initial police report aren't able to say things that will mislead the jury. The public defender investigator, he misled the jury. He confirmed that there was a trail from the back of Stephen Kirkland's campsite to the raft and showed pictures of bushes, but said the trail's right here in the pictures to the jury. You know what I'm saying? You know, in jury, it's snowing that day. They want to get out of there. Like, they're going to inspect the pictures and be like, hey, there's no trail here. But he said there's a trail here. Oh, there's a trail here. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Let's get this over with type deal, you know? And so, but we'll get into that later. So, the door was not locked, right? The door was not locked. That's not illegal to have. So we'll compare that to the raft. The raft had no numbers, had no registration showing, and no VIN number. It's not illegal to have your raft with no registration and no VIN number. You know what I'm saying? But the rules and regulations state if you're going to have your property unnumbered, you have to have it on your persons or within the vicinity of your designated area that you're occupying. You know what I'm saying? And it's known that you're occupying that area, you know. As of if you have an unnumbered, unraft, it doesn't matter how long you're gone for. You know, if you put that piece of property unnumbered and everything like that in an undesignated area. The moment you step away from that undesignated area and it's on property that you don't own and you leave that area, technically, by definition in legal terms, you just abandoned your property. By leaving it, you left all your responsibility for that property on that property itself. And so, you know what I'm saying? And we can get into that too. But technically, when you get boats and rafts and stuff like that, you want to number them, and we'll go over the laws of everything of having registration. The state patrol of Ketchikan was amazing. They're cool. They were very cooperative. They're like, yeah, Stephen Kirkland should have had the numbers on his raft, and the fact that he didn't have the numbers on his raft, and the fact that his raft was painted and it didn't match the registration. He said once you're supposed to get the registration changed to that painted color before you even paint the raft. You know what I'm saying? He said, I mean, the officer explained it like, yeah, you can paint the raft, then come and re-register it, but we don't know what the previous color was. And he said, technically, if you want to paint your raft or your boat item that's already registered, you want to go to the office of registration and get it and say, I'm changing my color to this color on my registration. We need to change the registration. Then you paint the boat, the piece of property and stuff, and get it like that. You know what I'm saying? And so it was not this. The door was unlocked. That's not illegal. The raft, no numbers, everything, the way it was placed, that was illegal. Right? You guys can see where this is going. Mens rea. Right? So this is mens rea, the Ketchikan theft, and the police setup. Right? So a guy walks by a car that's parked, has the door unlocked, possibly a key left in the ignition. You know what I'm saying? But he wouldn't know that unless he was checking to see if the door was unlocked. That action to check to see, poke your little head in to see if that door was unlocked, it's kind of like an action like doing this. You know what I'm saying? And taking off with that. That action right there establishes mens rea, guilty intent of depriving somebody of a property, their property, knowing it was guilty intent, knowing that this car is someone's property, it's licensed, you know, it's there legally, the tabs are good, everything's legal about it. There's no reason why this person should be looking in the car in the first place, you know. What's that? And so this establishes guilty intent of depriving someone else of their property, knowing that's not someone else's property. And so they go in, bam, turn on the key, try to drive off. Yeah, I got this, green light. Then all of a sudden it shuts down, dies, locks up. Whoop, 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 whoop. And you're like, oh, what the? You know what I'm saying? Boom. You swooped in on. Police all over. You know what I'm saying? Drop the bag of dope. You know, everything like that. Spit it out. Spread your cheeks. Lift your sack. You're going to jail. You know, that's what happens. And that right here, this is a thumbs up. You know what I'm saying? Thumbs up. I don't know. It kind of look like we'll make a little finger, middle finger. And it doesn't look like a thumbs up. I can definitely do a middle finger. You know what I'm saying? Finger up. You know what I'm saying? Going to jail. You know. That's an ethical, truthful setup right there. The perpetrator in the car could be like, yeah, you got me. You know what I'm saying? I'm going nowhere with this. You know? Something like this, though, the raft. A person that walks by sees the raft in the creek, and they know all these things. It's a 24-hour area. It looks trash. It's going down. They see the raft. They're like, oh, shoot. That doesn't belong in there. It needs to come out. You know what I'm saying? And this property is not known to be owned by anybody's property. And so the mens rea, the amount of guilty intent for mens rea to deprive someone of their property, knowing that what they're doing like that is not the right thing to do. That cannot be established in a setup like this. For the fact that you have all these points right there of why that raft technically, legally, morally, ethically should not be in that creek. Because that raft right there is illegal. And so they're using mens rea to establish mens rea. And in the courtroom, that is contradictory. And that's why you'll find my attorney said it wasn't the fact that these people were breaking laws, it was the fact that they have to prove that I had the intent to break a law. We'll get into more of that later, And so this documentary is going to be really good. I've really been studying into this. I've been studying this in the way that I want to make sure this doesn't happen again. You know what I'm saying? I have watched good friends of mine die of drugs. And these type of people right here with this raft are the type of people that would have gave my friend drugs to put him in jail thinking that they're doing the right thing. And threw dope in front of them so he can relapse, so he can get set up to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's give them dope. Oh, shoot, they're going to jail. Call the cops. Oh, he's dead. You know what I'm saying? That's their type of mentality. It's not. This is selfish. You know what I'm saying? This is selfish gain, personal stuff. This is telling a lie on somebody. This right here, the police, this is ethical. This is telling the truth on somebody. And what the police are trying to do right here, telling the truth on somebody. Not telling a lie on somebody. And so it's truthful, it's honest, it has integrity, it establishes foundation. This right here, doesn't establish anything other than philosophical standpoint. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get into that too. When you get into criminal justice, you learn philosophical. Democrats, liberals, they're more philosophical about laws and stuff like that, where Republicans, conservatives, they're more cutting the line straight. You know what I'm saying? So this is the more conservative viewpoint, and this would be more philosophical, liberal viewpoint. And we'll get into that later in the documentary. Everything else like that. And so, back to this, the point of the mens rea. With all this going on, how can you establish that this person right here that saw this raft a week before in here, you know what I'm saying, a week before that, and decided to go get somebody in town to get that out, because it was all those things. How can you establish that they were trying to deprive somebody of a raft that had no ownership at the time it was located? Not only that, Stephen Kirkland, the guy who owned the raft, stated that he had it there for only 3 days, knowing that he had it there longer than 3 days. So he not only gave a false registration, we'll go that too, he lied about the amount of days he had it in there. Why would somebody that's doing something right do that? We're mens rea, using mens rea to cover up mens rea, blaming someone else to cover up their own, you know what I'm saying? And I've been studying into techniques for interviewing, stuff like that. I mean, this is good for business. And 3 days is a common lie detector red flag. So there's something innate in people that when they're lying and you ask them about how many days, they want to say, oh, a few days, maybe 3. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, that 3 days pops in. Stephen Kirkland said that 3 days. I got public records of Stephen Kirkland of his last day at another camp, as a camp host at another state park, was actually the 22nd of May, or the May 29th, I think it was, his last day there. And so he had to have all of his stuff from this camp host area moved. And so that was the day that I found the raft, was the day that he was supposed to have all the stuff off the property. So meaning he moved that raft, you can tell by the condition it was in. My theory is he left that raft outside on that camp host area to rot, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And he just thought, well, shoot, I'm the camp host of this campground. I'll just store it in the creek here to where it's convenient for me. And maybe we can set it up or something like that. But he planned it out. Then he planned out, well, if someone takes it, this is what I'm going to say and do. You know what I'm saying? So he previously planned out him breaking the law, rules and regulations, and how he would cover himself up with breaking the law, rules, and regulations. And not only that, he's an outfitter. You know what I'm saying? So his take, well, if I blame someone for theft, that's worse than what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And so the theft will take precedence over the fact that I'm illegally storing my stuff in the raft. You know, and that's mens rea right there too. You know, and we'll get into that as well. And so I got the public documentation. So what he did was move that raft before the 29th, placed it in that creek. So when the campground opened, he would have his his raft already stored in the creek. Hence, he knew the time I found it to the time I got the raft, I waited a week. He had it in there longer. And hence, that's where we come to where he stated he's only had it in there for 2, maybe 3 days. Put it in there, yeah. And he says you'll hear him in his indictment hearing saying it, and you'll hear him in the court trial saying it too. And we'll go over that as well. So for right now, I'm thinking I'm doing a pretty good job on explaining all of this. Now, if I bring this to light in a way where I can get the objects coming down in the video, everything else like that, along with stuff you guys can research, like this stuff is going to get educational, breaking it apart. You guys can comment on, you know, your ethical views on it, you know, what was right, what was wrong. It'd be cool to sit there with an officer or even the patrol officer, captain even, and go over this right here and see his viewpoint on everything. And if he was in control of something like this, you know, what are his ethical standards of doing something like this? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I would think that most police officers would agree with me on this. Absolutely. 100%. You guys take it easy.